Back with the newest justice of the Tennessee Supreme Court. Some would say the court's decisions are not necessarily right, but they are last. So there's that. Don?
So, Justice, a lot of Tennesseans don't really know the personalities of the people that are on the Tennessee Supreme Court, but I think many of our viewers would be, at least in a passing familiarity, know the U.S. Supreme Court. How do you think what justice on the U.S. Supreme Court do you think your style or judicial temperament will imitate, if there is one?
Yeah, let me give you two for different reasons. Chief Justice Roberts really runs a good court. He treats the litigants with respect. He treats his colleagues with respect. He's the consummate professional, and I think I like his professionalism and his civility. Former Justice Scalia is someone whose judicial philosophy would be more like mine.
Not temperament, however.
Well, he could be a little caustic at times, but he was funny. And I hope to incorporate a little humor in some of my opinions and maybe some storytelling.
You talk about Justice John Roberts, and I read one of his biggest fears is that the court would be seen as a political entity, in the fact that people might stop listening to the Supreme Court because they could predict how the court would rule even before the case is heard. How concerned are you, sitting on a state Supreme Court, that people's erosion of faith in institutions like that seems to be dropping?
Well, that's a complex question. So let me talk first about our court. I have great respect for the members of the court: Justice Bivens, Chief Justice Page, Justice Campbell, Justice Kirby. I know them all very well, and I find them to be very, very good jurists and of the highest ethical character. So I don't worry about that so much, but I understand why the public might have some distrust when judges rule based upon who they want to win as opposed to deviating from the rule of law. So I do think that the best thing that we can do to ensure that our system has integrity is to rule on the law as it is, not as someone else wants it to be.
We talked a little bit about how you were appointed by the governor and the commission that you have to go through. Is this the best way? We have retention every 8 years. I don't know how other states do this, but at some point in our history, we had elections of Supreme Court justices. And I'm not sure what other states do, but do most of them have gubernatorial appointments and then retentions or votes every 8 years?
Yeah, let's talk about the Tennessee plan, or it's not really the Tennessee plan, it's the Missouri plan, but when Amendment 2 was passed, and this was about 10 years ago, the law was changed to go through this process that I went through and then to allow legislative confirmation. I liked the process, and I saw it I was a supporter of Amendment 2, and I was also counsel to the governor when we took the very first Supreme Court nominee through this whole system. I think it works beautifully, and I would say that because I got the appointment, right? But I would say that anyway. I think merit comes to the forefront. I think the intense vetting process makes it clear that only a qualified person is going to get the nomination. And even the legislative confirmation part has worked well. As you know, I was unanimously confirmed. That doesn't happen often in this day and time, and that meant a lot to me.
Justice Tarwater, you mentioned your service to Governor Haslam as general counsel. What was the most memorable moment or issue that you tackled with the governor that you are most proud of, or hold up as this is how challenging this job is?
Well, I'll give you two answers to that, John. I think the most historically significant thing that I was heavily involved with would have been Justice Page's confirmation. He was the first to go through the process. Now, there are only 3 of us that have been through the process from soup to nuts, but he was the first, and so we were learning it as we went. And so his confirmation in 2015, I think, was, I thought, a very historically significant event. As far as the difficult cases, I would have to say that the most serious cases and the most weighty cases would have been the death penalty cases. And, it fell upon me to advise the governor on whether those inmates, those defendants, were good candidates for clemency or not.
So, and that's interesting you talk about that. You and I, again, have known each other a long time. Do you think that experience with the governor as it relates to criminal justice issues, because your entire practice really never involved criminal justice issues, are going to serve you well as a Supreme Court justice, because those are the meatiest things that the Supreme Court typically sees? That's
a great question, Don. Now, keep in mind, I did have 3 criminal defense cases.
Only because you were forced, I think, by our mayor.
A burglar, a shoplifter, and a lawyer. Okay, so there's that.
Sounds like the start of a joke.
Yeah, it does.
But when I was the governor's counsel, a lot of people probably don't know that I was his criminal policy advisor to the National Governors Association. I was chair of the Public Safety Subcabinet, and we implemented numerous reforms in juvenile justice and drug addiction and treatment and recovery. We reviewed 3,500 cases for clemency. So that's a lot of criminal cases to look at. And I think the governor probably, issued maybe a few less than 100 cases of some kind of clemency.
Justice Dwight Tarwater, we're going to have to leave it there, but we appreciate you making time to join us before you officially join the court and your investiture, which is coming up in the fall. Congratulations, and we appreciate the time.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Justice Tarwater, we're back with our talk around right after this.